Working Interferences is intended for mature audiences. Since the hosts never grew up, someone needs to be the adult. Welcome to Working Interferences with Josh and Lance, the dental advice podcast for the average dentist. Here is Josh and Lance.
Bruz, what is up? Welcome to another edition of Working Interferences. I am Lance Timmerman, your host tonight, and joining me is my brother Clint.
What's happening? I feel like I'm the Working Interferences utility man.
Pretty much,
you know?
Yeah.
When you give Mike Trout the night off and you get someone else to hit for him.
What was that? Mark McLemore on the Mariners years ago? He could do every position. So if someone needed a night off, he'd take third base or second base or outfield. And
that was the one year we were good. Well, one of three maybe.
Yeah,
the first time we won anything.
Yeah, and then yet still didn't.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. Seattle sports. We have a history of. Well, we have had some. The Seahawks winning the Super Bowl was pretty damn cool, and choking in the Super Bowl the next year was almost cool.
Pretty typical.
Take those out. Y'all, we got her the Storm.
Yeah. Hey, they kick ass.
They do kick ass.
But the Mariners, I think now, based out of the big four franchises, are now the worst historically as far as losing. And now they're now the only baseball team not to make the World Series. So, hooray, Seattle. Another thing we've got.
Currently in first place. So now they have a dilemma. Were we rebuilding, or are they going to be actually making trades at the trading deadline to build for next year, or are they going to try to contend? I mean, it's April. I mean, come on.
Right. Usually we're in first this month, and then we'll be 26 games out of first by July, and then we're selling anybody good on our team to somebody that is pretty good, much. And we get their prospects.
Pretty much. So Josh asked a favor this week. He wanted to see if you could pinch hit for him because he had a lot of stuff going on, and so welcome. Thanks for having her back and filling in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, but we talked about Seahawks earlier. We seem to have a recurring theme with the Jailhawks, and so
hey, the Jailblazers went away. Someone had to pick up the mantle.
That's right. I was in Portland during the Jailblazer era. That was good times.
Definitely. All the stupid shit they would do. Wasn't somebody? God. Was it Damon Stoudemire smoking a joint as he got pulled over?
Yeah.
Like, hey, at least ditch your weed, man.
Yeah.
But I believe
swallow your drugs.
Right, exactly. Didn't they learn anything from Cheech and Chong? I mean, I believe in second chances, or third or fourth or 10th in this case. But the Seahawks signed Aldon Smith last week. It was April 15th. It's supposed to be his road to redemption, although I think he was with Dallas last year on a one-year contract.
Yeah.
And then we got the news today that he apparently almost choked a man to death. So that
maybe do we really know that? I mean, maybe it was the Heimlich maneuver. He was helping him not choke. And
maybe thought he was doing it wrong. Not everyone knows the Heimlich
the reverse
maneuver.
Heimlich.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he was trying to get him to help digest it faster. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault a guy for trying to help a guy out, right?
Yeah.
No?
That's true.
So
I don't know.
Did they already cut him?
They haven't cut him yet. I know that they're trying because of what happened with, Sam Darnold, but no, that's the shitty quarterback for the Jets, now Panthers.
Panthers,
Who's the big guy that always mops up on the Seahawks? Aaron Donald? The defensive tackle? Yeah, Aaron Donald. But I guess in that case, would the video prove that someone else was kicking this guy's ass, and then that guy tried to say it was Aaron Donald because he figured he had more money to try to compensate him for. So we'll see. But based on the previous track record, I'm guessing Aldon Smith might not be around in this league very much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for second chances too. The Seahawks are all about the second chances, but you got to cut your losses at some point with that kind of.
Des Bryant did something in the time that I thought was ridiculous, and I think it ended up being brilliant. He kept getting into trouble, maybe at a nightclub too late or getting caught. What was it, like doing blow off a hooker's ass or something like that?
We've all been there.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Wait.
I mean, that's
what I told the judge.
But he paid 3 different guys to work round the clock to make sure he didn't do anything stupid. And I'm like, oh, this is a ridiculous throwaway of money. But I think it worked, because I think after he did that, he didn't get in trouble and was able to have a pretty good career and with the Cowboys. So maybe Alden Smith, some of these other people that apparently can't keep their hands off people or their mouths off of drugs need to look into that.
So who's the next thug the Seahawks should go after?
Man, who's out there? Anybody we can bail out of jail?
We can just go to the jail.
Or,
hey,
right.
You're a big guy.
Get Debo. See if he's rest in peace. I guess he's not around, but
oh, yeah.
Why not? We need all the help we can get. It's like every year the NFC West keeps reloading.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep. It's stacked.
Yeah. So, well, Clint, this is an advice show.
It is?
Barely. So we answer questions from our listeners. So please, everybody listening, submit your questions, since they are the sustenance that we crave. Now, we answer questions from all those neat little Facebook groups. We answer questions from Reddit.
Not loud enough.
No, it's close. Clint, we don't want just any questions now, do we?
No, not really. I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
We want the questions that Gordon Christensen cannot answer. So do you think Gordon has ever watched TikTok?
I think he makes TikToks left and right. Yeah, he and Rella. I bet they got their own thing going on.
Have you spent much time on TikTok?
No, not at all.
I've made an account because my daughter wanted me to see something. So I actually am on it, I guess, because I have the account, but I think I've opened the app twice. So
I've spent more time at Gordon's house than on TikTok.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, he was my stake president back at BYU.
Was he really?
Yeah. So I was at his house. He had some people over, and nice guy. Good guy.
Okay. All right. No, I think the TikTok crowd is kind of your 18 to 25-year-old demographic, you think?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not on it, so I don't know. All of the different social media platforms would come out. I kept trying to keep up and make it, when MySpace was a thing, I made a MySpace and then ignored it because it took time. And then Facebook came out. I made a Facebook, but it was a different animal when it first came out. It's evolved quite a bit. It's
true. Well, apparently we're old farts now for using Facebook. All the cool kids use Snapchat and whatnot, which Snapchat did not go the way I thought it was going to go, because do you remember when Chat Roulette came out?
No.
And it's supposed to be you talk to somebody, and when you're done, you just click it, and then you go to the next person, and then the next person. So you might have a 5-second conversation. So there were tons of guys just showing their junk. They just hold in front of the screen. There's some lady on today, or Good Morning America, that was live going through a broadcast and came across it like, oh, geez. And so when it first came out, and you were going to have
was that on Snapchat?
No, that was Chat Roulette, and then Snapchat came out, and it's like, yeah, you can send a photo that's then going to disappear. Like, oh, great, we know where this is going. And honestly, almost my entire staff in Iowa used it. Girls can actually be raunchier than I thought they would. The whole, take a picture of your Duke and then send it to somebody. At least my hygienists were doing it. Not to me, to other people. They would tell me about it. So, but I never gave a shit about sending a picture to somebody for 5 seconds.
No,
maybe I should.
My kids, my kids were, I think, still into it, and I have the app too because they wanted me to receive stuff, and then I just never open it. So a month later, they said, you haven't opened it. I'm like, shit, yeah. I just can't keep up. I'm feeling like a boomer.
Well, same with Marco Polo. People record something. It's a video. If I'm in between patients, I don't usually have 10 minutes to watch a video and then make a 10-minute video or even a 30-second video to respond. It's easier just text me, email, whatever. Yeah,
I've given up. It's Facebook is going to be the platform, and if it's anything beyond that, then I still like email. So
me too.
I mean, it is what it is.
We're gonna be those guys. Like, how often do you send a statement to an older patient with maybe your website where they can pay their bill online and they send you back a check?
Like
we're gonna be that version someday.
We are totally
Just
that version.
Me. Oh, email. Who's his email?
Yeah. Although I do enjoy things. Like, we went to get something to eat yesterday, and they had they had a QR code on the receipt. So rather than give my credit card, I just scanned it with my phone and paid my bill right there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So that part was kind of cool. So I'm not too behind the times. Well, of course, I'm the consumer, so it's I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go.
Me neither, man. I mean, I try to stay up on as much as I can. I just worry I'm going to turn into like Dad, who he does his best, but he still gets confused on things.
Yeah. Part of it's he's 80,
Mom's a lost cause.
Well, Mom's dementia's a bitch, so that'll do it. I had 2 sets of dentures made for her, so that when she'd lose one, I'd give her the other, and then when she'd find the other, then we'd just take it from her and
That's
give
smart.
it to her as just a rotating sets.
Another reason to get a scanner.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you don't, rather than you just, because I know people have come. I've had patients before, like, hey, my mom's got dementia. I think she needs something fixed. She's going to lose these, and then they can't afford anything fixed. So here's an alternate solution.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant to go ahead and scan a denture, print it as needed. You fucked up again? All right, give me 10 minutes or however long it takes to print. So, all right. So, Reddit question from user Azafran. Azafran. Who do you think that is?
Got me.
Oh, all right. You told me off for being late before. Now you're running late for my appointment. This is from a dental professional. What are your best responses to patients that come out with this one? So, have you ever had a patient where you got mad at them for being late, and then later on you're late for them, and then they throw it back at your face that you charged me a late fee or a no-show fee or anything like that? Does that happen to you?
I can't recall that specifically of somebody that was late and we had a no-show fee or had to reschedule, and then it came back full circle with them. But I have had people that they've complained when we've had to reschedule them, and then rarely do we get late, but even if we do, it still might be a matter of minutes. And here's the thing that pisses me off. Well, one, I try to pretty much never be late, and usually explain to the patient that's a half hour into their appointment that we needed that time with that person, especially to keep the train going. Usually, I still try to focus it on for their specific case. Like, hey, I needed that time to be able to help you out. But Lance, when was the last time you went to a doctor's office, any other doctor's office? You're going to show up. You're going to wait in the waiting room for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The nurse is going to take you back. You're going to have another 20 minutes with them. And then you're going to finally see whatever doctor you're seeing, probably the last 5 minutes of your hour appointment.
Right.
And so I don't know why there's such a different standard with going to the dentist if we're, slightly late or something's not going quite as timely as they're expecting. Yet it seems to be pretty standard everywhere else to go that things are just going to run a little bit behind.
Yeah, I actually have had it. It's been a while where, someone was late, because I always tell new hires that if anybody is late, it's always a new patient, because my patients have been trained to be on time.
Right.
If it's a 60-minute appointment, I'm usually pretty forgiving for about 10 minutes. But if it's 15 minutes in, I'm probably going to cancel the appointment, reschedule it, or we're going to alter it. I can't reward them for being late. You're getting everything that they wanted. I'm not going to work in through to the next, penalize the following patient because this patient was late. So if we were doing upper and lower quadrants of something, then we're just going to do one of the quadrants and have to reschedule. Because, it hurts me, too, to lose production. Right. Sometimes you almost have to be willing to sacrifice a little production today and knowing that you're going to be able to have a tight ship moving forward. Well, I remember years ago, there was a guy where we made him reschedule. And then when it was his appointment, something got screwed up because I usually lose my shit on my staff for scheduling in such a way that we would get late, because I don't like being late. We schedule more time than is necessary. So if a consultant was looking at my schedule, they'd say, hey, we could really tighten this up. You're really wasting time and things. But I found we're a lot more productive if we spend more time and have more time. We do more things per hour and everything. So ounce of prevention. It's so rare that we're late that it really doesn't come up very often. But I have had people think that we're being hypocritical. Same. We go to a physician, and the physicians are always behind. I will always be early because that's the way that I am. If it's supposed to be at 8:00, I'm there at least 5 minutes to 8. But then they won't even seat me till a quarter after or 20 after, and then they're only seating you so that it seems the appearance of being on time.
Right.
And then you go back and you sit back for another half hour waiting. So I got a echogram next month I got to do, and I know it's just going to be it's a 10:30 appointment, but I'm probably not going to be seen until noon. And I have to join the world of the medical thing. I got my heart thing going, so I get we keep mixing up prescriptions. I think I even take more drugs than Dad. Well, Dad's got his cancer shit, but he's got some heart medication, and he looked at my app, my MyChart app, and I was showing him the drugs that I was taking. He's, oh yeah, I take that too. But then didn't know what the other ones I was taking, and so
And so it begins.
So it begins. They say I'm too young to be taking everything that I'm doing and taking and whatnot. But that's I
was surprised when all this started happening to you.
Yeah. It was your birthday too. So
it was my birthday. We lost Eddie Van Halen that day, and then
we got
that message later.
Yeah.
I hope October 6th isn't cursed now.
Well, I'll never forget it. So
yeah, that's true.
Much as I've tried. And there were some comments. Let's see. This sassy Pikachu said, patients usually don't come out with this one. A huge factor we run behind is because the patient is late and anesthetic can take a while to start working, especially for lower procedures. Patients are typically incredibly understanding, and we are lucky for our patient base. I kind of think you missed it. No, so this person, Sally Pikachu, is accepting being late because, shit happens. But anesthetic can be unpredictable, so that's why we schedule a little extra time.
Right.
Because of that. So count on that. And then Azafran says, oh, I'm a dentist. The reason I asked because I have had 2 people say this recently. I have a lot of stock answers in how I deal with, but need one for this. I don't know. Yeah, so this Bread Major says that's the crux of it. A good dentist will put in the time she needs for unforeseen issues, in my book. We can all have unforeseen issues, but getting to an appointment on time is generally doable. A person who makes the comparison between their time and the doctor's time is feeling disrespected, perhaps for a totally different issue. It's not an issue of right or wrong. Apologize to your customer and explain where you're coming from. We used to have a bunch of Starbucks cards, $5 Starbucks cards.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was about to ask if you did that.
And we would give it to people if we were the rare times we were ever late. And we stopped doing it because suddenly they were like gone. I'm like, where are all the cards? And they were like, oh, well, we gave it to people when they were late. I'm like, who? I didn't feel like we were ever late or maybe barely. And so then we started having, anytime we had to give it out, we actually had to write it down on a piece of paper to who and why. And that slowed it down quite a bit. When I think of it, my staff was taking the Starbucks cards.
Oh.
One of the reasons for the Seattle Protocol is,
when
people are literally stealing from you. Yeah, you got to make a
true.
change.
Hell, Uncle Mike, and I don't know if you knew he managed a hotel/restaurant in Colorado. I mean, this is decades ago. And they were just losing a shit ton of money with alcohol. And, usually that's a big money maker. And so what he found there's a lot of people that might give away a free drink here or there. And what he told them, he goes, hey, totally cool you do that. All I want you to do is just write down, who it was, who would Jim's working. Hey, I gave to customer so-and-so. And they wrote it down, but he found that it decreased it, greatly. It was like 20% only 20% of how much they had been losing was then gone. So he figures it was just staff just opening bottles, drinking bottles, and whatnot. So, yeah, I guess if you keep people accountable, maybe it's going to happen a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to have a nanny state. I kind of want my employees to manage themselves, but you got to make sure that whoever you have hired is has a personality that just wouldn't be that way. But that's almost impossible to know that in advance.
Right. I thought you were going to go the way that maybe staff or patients would try to find a way to act like that you guys were late in order to get the Starbucks gift card and take advantage of it that way.
I think if we had implemented it for a long enough period of time, I think people probably would have figured out to do that. It happened pretty fast. We implemented like January of this was like 2002. And maybe by February, I realized that, hey, we need to write it down. And then by March, I'm like, this just isn't worth it. So
yeah, got rid of it.
Got rid of that whole thing. So no.
Well, that's good. Well, it's like, I mean, do you remember, you read Freakonomics, right?
Uh-huh.
Where there was that daycare in Israel that people kept showing up late. Like, okay, we need you to pick your kids up by 5 o'clock. Otherwise, it's going to be a $20 surcharge if it's after 5 o'clock. Well, then people are like, oh, sweet, I'll just pick them up at 8 p.m. and pay $20 and I get an extra few hours. And it got out of hand. So they had to say, just look, no late charges, but pick your kids up by 5. But they got their clients were so used to that, they got pissed off. They just dropped having them as their daycare altogether, and the place went bankrupt. And then those people went to other daycares that you had to make sure that you'd pick them up by 5 o'clock. So even though they're just trying to do what everyone else also does, people then just had that expectation and then got mad and dropped them. So
well, and we talked about this before when we were talking about after hours fees, and we were talking about Freakonomics, where some people are like, oh shit, well I'll pay the after hours fee if that means I get to come in Saturday or whatever. But my response that stopped that was the after hours fee has to be something no one wants to pay. It can't be $20 because people would absolutely say, sure. So this daycare, it should have been $100. And if people still kept paying it, then they should have $200 or $100 an hour being late. Something to make it actually painful. My after hours fee is $400. You want to see me on a weekend? Well,
I bet that's a deterrent.
It made a little more sense. So we recently moved, and I love my commute. It's like 9 minutes, and that's with traffic. And before, I didn't realize till my move this last week that I really lived out in the boondocks. I was just so used to living out there, away from everything, that it wasn't until I still had stuff to go back to pick up and bring back to the place and then go back again and get more boxes that I was like, shit, it is far. So that was my excuse for if someone wanted to see me on the weekend, if they're calling, then I would say, hey, is it worth $400 cash that you go to the ATM before you see me to get? Otherwise, I'll see you Monday. It was a little easier to justify saying $400. I have to drive, 45 minutes each way and all that extra time and gas and time away from the family. Well, now it's so convenient. The other day we were unpacking and everything was still stacked up so much. So I just went to the office and took a shower and then came back. So I don't have the excuse of being living far away anymore.
What are you going to tell them now? Just, you're a big deal?
No, I'm just going to say fuck off.
No. Exactly.
I don't want to.
Funny thing is, if there's anybody I think that would actually say that, it'd be you. And there's times when you've told me that you said this to a patient, like, oh man, would you really tell him? Oh no, I told him that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember your reaction sometimes. I can't remember what I was telling you. I told someone, and I remember you saying, well, what did you say? No, that was really it. I wish I could remember what it was. I remember seeing your face. Really?
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes I think I need to take that stance. Some people, you just got to be bold. I guess I usually try to do the whole mantra of tell someone to go to hell and have them enjoy the trip.
Right.
But sometimes you just need to tell them to go to hell.
Yeah. I'm a little more. I enjoy being a little more direct.
Right.
Because anytime I try to be creative, then I find out they didn't really understand what I just said. They're like, what kind of like when mom was a school teacher, and I just graduated dental school, and I did a presentation to the kids. Brought a bunch of toothbrushes. Hey, this is how you floss, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought I was being clever. The old joke you always hear. One kid, do I really have to floss? And then I said, no, just the ones you want to keep. Thinking people understood it. But then mom did a project afterwards asking, hey, so what did you learn from Dr. Timmerman? And one kid said, I learned I don't have to floss. I'm like, no, just the ones you want to keep. Fuck. So
I have this problem still to this day. One, I'm wordy as hell. In fact, I remember my 10th grade writing teacher telling me, hey, Clint, you have the exact opposite problem of every other student. You have a 10-page essay, and I don't know what you're trying to say. What is your thesis statement? Okay. But I still don't know why, if I say these words, Mrs. Jones, you have a lot of this decay. We need to come clean it out. We're going to place a restoration. I don't know why that doesn't make sense. That will confuse Mrs. Jones. I have to say, you have a cavity. We need to do a filling, or I recommend a filling. They don't need to do anything. And I'm finding, in fact, I was going to try to write something about this, because even the verbiage that I think physicians are using with mom and dad, trying to either be gentle, let them down easy, it just confuses people. So it's one thing to try to talk on someone's level, but sometimes you just do have to be direct.
Yeah.
If it's treatment, office policy, whatever it is.
Or words that you think, now, when English is a second language, I try to go as basic Tonto as I can be. But even something silly like, Mrs. Jones, you got a cavity. We need to do a restoration. What the hell's a restoration? I don't understand. No, filling. Jeez.
Yeah.
You don't even understand restoration?
I don't get why they don't. And how many times do people call and say, I had an implant done, and they've had a root canal. And then you realize the other dentist said, well, we're doing an implant in your tooth, trying to find a different way to explain it. But then it just confused everybody.
Yeah, I've had, in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I had a patient where she was talking about the post. Well, she meant implant, but she had a post in her tooth right now at the time. But she was confused with thinking that was what an implant. I was so confused with her that I almost just dismissed her from the practice right there. It was a new patient emergency, and I'm like, I can't be your dentist. You got. I ended up not, just so I didn't want the Yelp review, but I just made sure I tripled the fee, and so we were just too expensive, and so she left. I just didn't have time to.
I had that backfire one time. Once this guy was a huge asshole. Again, have him go to hell and have him enjoy the trip. Like, look, triple everything. We're gonna way outprice ourselves. This is in Colorado. And then the asshole still said yes. And I'm like, shit. Well, I guess it might be kind of worth it for that, but damn it.
There have been a few times where I thought I charged way too much, but then when they said yes, I'm like, you know what? I actually really don't mind it at $10,000. Right. So sure. So. That's how my denture fee escalated as quickly as it did. I just hated it for so long, and now that I charge as much as I do, I don't mind. I'm charging.
To me, they're still a pain in the ass.
Well, still a pain in the ass, but if I'm charging them $300 an adjustment, and they're willingly paying for the 10 minutes that they're there, all right, you're stupid, but all right. The trick is to make sure it's not that often, but plus when it costs that much, they complain a lot less, and so because there's some sore spots, you're like, it's not that sore, it's just inconvenient, and you're just old and lonely, and you're actually just here because you want to talk to somebody. So
I found a good trick for that, because I had in all the time, especially in rural Iowa, people showing up all the time, and there's either nothing wrong, or have you done the whole I don't see anything there, and you're really drilling the air, and then you kind of make it seem like you're doing something. Here you go, oh, that's perfect, and then they go to tell you about their cat, and then I realized I think they're lonely, so I just started scheduling them, especially if it was a relatively new prosthetic. Hey, let's have you come in 6 weeks, let's have you come in 8 weeks, and just a 10-minute appointment, and then those phone calls decreased. They would just show up to their appointment. And sometimes they even show up and say nothing's really wrong, and then they still want to take the time to tell me about their cat. Okay, yeah, cool, whatever.
yeah. We have a few like that. So that's a good way to handle that.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't think there's anything more on this guy's.
No.
His other Reddit. No,
Usually Josh is the one finding people who are suicidal or into what's the thing you taught me last weekend? Brony? Not because you are, at least to my knowledge, but
allegedly.
So here's a new thing for being an advice show. Careful who might show up to your convention, because I think it actually was Brianna telling me that a brony is a guy that wants to have sex with a My Little Pony. Is that what it is?
I thought he just liked My Little. He's just a fan. I don't know that it was sexual.
Okay, because they had
the pictures. It certainly looked that they were.
And what had happened is somebody went to have a My Little Pony convention for presumably little girls, and all these guys showed up dressed like My Little Pony, and they're like, "Whoa, what the hell is this shit?"
It's a furry convention on crack.
Yeah,
because some of those pictures, it was like, oh my gosh, I might know that guy. So it's
yeah. How many times has that happened? Like, Harvey, is that you?
So I was gonna look for another question, but I think we were talking the other day, and I thought this would be a good one to just kind of discuss in the podcast. We watched the movie Fake Famous, and so I'd seen it, and I mentioned it to you, and so you watched Fake Famous as well.
I did.
Why don't you give us a sum up of what Fake Famous is, since it's fresh in your brain?
Sure. Well, it was essentially it was a social experiment. It's kind of along the lines of the documentary Super Size Me, where the guy he ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days to see how unhealthy how fat he would get. Or there's another movie that you and I have seen called Czech Dream, where these two Czech guys they advertised for a company, a superstore, a market that didn't exist, and tried to see if they could get a following and get people to endorse them and make testimonies. And they did on this very thing that just did not exist. And so in this movie, they took 3 different people. It was 2 guys and a girl, and they tried to see if they could create a fake profile, Instagram. It was specifically just Instagram, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And see if they could get more likes, if they could build them up to become popular when none of it was true. And for example, they acted like they were rich, famous, living the high life. And there's one scene when they took a toilet bowl and they put it right next to someone's head, but a profile shot. Well, that toilet bowl in that case would look like an airplane window, and they act like they're flying to the Bahamas or something. And then it opened my eyes to this whole world of just fake influencers, because then they got a hold of somebody else that's big on Instagram, where they would rent out a mansion for, and I was really surprised, only like $150 an hour, but they'd rent this mansion and then just take all these different pictures and then put that out where they look like they're rich, they're famous, and then try to get followers. And then there's a shit ton of people out there that buy bots, essentially fake accounts, to be able to like and then praise
fake
other
followers.
people.
And it's not just the likes, but they were actually making comments like, "Oh, you look beautiful, you look awesome," or whatever.
Right.
And what was interesting is it worked. What was also interesting is COVID exposed a bunch of them, where when the world was shut down, you would expect the people to then just be at home, but these people kept taking pictures as if they were in Paris, and huge crowds of people there, not thinking that wait, it's shut down, there's nobody there. This isn't a real photo. And so then people got found out that they weren't really. Well, the reason we were kind of getting annoyed is there's an influence out there that is a new grad. I mean, it hasn't even been a year since graduation, or what day is it? It's close to graduation, close to the anniversary, but is posting just ridiculous. Number one, I feel bad. Like, dude, can't you tell your work is ugly? That if you're doing, I mean, look at Style Italiano.
I was going to say, spend 2 minutes in Style Italiano, and you'll realize, I shouldn't have posted a picture of my MOD.
Yeah, because those guys they love the craft. I mean, they're getting the endo files out and staining grooves and really making it look like a tooth.
I don't know about you. If I'm doing 15 MO, A2, make it pretty. Who gives a shit?
Exactly. Exactly. But, here's a person showing all their 15 steps, and they're writing it up. And I know who they worked for. So I'm like, man, how long did it take them to do that filling? They're like, well, about an hour. I'm like, man, you understand that's not profitable, right? Well, actually, I think he let him go. So I think he realized he was not profitable. So here's this Instagram influencer that can't even hold down a job because your work looks like shit. And
I know you're talking about, and I thought about this. I'll listen to a dental student. If somebody is a D4 and, hey, I go to dental school in Kirksville and I've been, my row instructor had me do a pecton crown, I'd be like, hey, tell me about it. What do you think? But the verbiage that he uses is, man, most dentists would deem this tooth to certain doom by putting a crown here, and he's onlaying 80% of this tooth. And they're like, yeah, I guess we're all fuckwads for doing a crown where it was obviously indicated. Like, so it's just there's a certain arrogance to it.
The arrogance was ridiculous, and one person I saw called him out, saying, yeah, that should be a crown. And so he blocked him. So he can't even take the criticism. But also, look, dude, you haven't even been graduated long enough to see your shit fail.
Right.
To know that, and now I know this guy's moving out to different states, so he's going to get geographic success. He's going to think all of his work is awesome because, it didn't fail.
And the guy that you know is going to be having to be like, son of a bitch, why did he do a post and core and crown here when that thing needed to be in an implant? There's a lot of stuff I learned right away. He does this herodontics, and hey, this is awesome, and then it splits in half, and you're like, oh. Well, shit. I guess I shouldn't have done that in the first place. So
I took it out of occlusion. Well, the Dahl effect, it super erupted, and now it's in occlusion, and now it broke. So you start learning how things can fail, and even when you predict it'll fail this way, it fails a different way.
Right.
So, but what was interesting was I'm sitting there going, why is this guy getting so much accolades from other people? Man, you're killing it. Oh, you're looking awesome. But I saw he made other profiles and commented on himself and then responded to himself, just like on Fake Famous.
Right.
Having all this interactions that, and are we supposed to believe that you've got a burr block and wow, that's awesome? Because I know people that have made burr blocks and you don't make any money on having a burr block. But he's got a whole Instagram profile of a burr block.
Right.
That talks to you.
Well, is that the one that he really took two different people in the industry, in the dental industry, two different logos, and then made them the one? You're like, you're ripping off two people. Like, who are you fooling here?
You're unoriginal twice.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing. And the thing is, I got to thinking about this too. What really makes a good influencer, what makes a good teacher? Mm-hmm. I believe Josh actually was writing articles and lecturing not too far out of school. Uh-huh. But the thing that I've realized is, if we're on groups with Josh is also the quick to be like, hey, what could I do better? Or when someone else has something like, oh, that's a good idea.
Right. Well, but
tomorrow he'll put a plug in. Russell Schaefer, Denture King of New Orleans. He's got a dental economics lecture webinar tomorrow. Yeah, webinar. Mm-hmm. Russell is awesome. He is also the first to gobble up any things coming out. And
but even when Josh was doing that right out of school, Josh was paying his dues. There's a certain dues paying that you do before you start telling other people how to do things. And Josh can also recognize when his work is maybe not what he wanted. I mean, I've got some work that isn't all that pretty. Guess what I didn't do?
Post
I didn't put it on Instagram.
Yeah. But you'd hope if someone says, like, again, we have a lot of people that are incredible that they do lectures and then they'll post something like, hey, did you think about doing XYZ? Like, hey, I didn't. That's a good idea. Or, hey, I've tried that before, but it didn't work. And so I realize a lot of the great teachers are still great students. And I think that's what it really takes to continue to be a great lecturer.
I remember seeing Maurice Salama was posting something, and we go in trends. We've been out long enough that we see things come. It seems like a good idea. You do a few cases that way. But Maurice Salama posted, he goes, "Yeah, we remember when we thought this was a good idea," and he shows a follow-up 5 years later, and you're like, "Yeah, this is why we don't do it anymore."
Right. Well, hell, you mentioned the Salamas. It was the Dental XP in Miami a few years ago, and they introduced this lecturer like, hey, this guy, he spent a lot of time with us, slept on our couch at our house, learned everything we could. He needs a contributor. It's Christian Coachman. And then he got up there and he had one of the most incredible presentations I've seen. Like, I'd still love to go to Brazil and take his course. I know he does stuff stateside, but it's an excuse to go to Brazil.
I know. As I say, we still plan to go to Brazil at some
but
point.
Again, he paid his dues and he learned from the best. But even the Salamas, just like you said, they'll post cases that, hey, this didn't go well, this did go well, like this. Yeah. And I'd be willing to bet they're just not going to turn off anybody who, I mean, if you guys just being a blatant asshole, that's one thing, but
right.
I feel like they would engage with people. So
no, I've gotten to those Salamas over the years. They're salt of the earth, awesome guys. I love everything about them. So that's the kind of people that you want to emulate. And
absolutely.
But they paid their dues, and
they did.
That's the part that it makes the fake influencers so cringeworthy. So
well, even for myself, just kind of for fun, I've started to try to do something with endurance athletes. And last week, I was curious about the original Ironman course, so I went to Hawaii, did the course, posted about it, I still feel really awkward making post. I never want to come across like a douche. I mean, maybe it happens anyway.
Douche.
Right? But it's something that's authentic. But then when I'm watching this show, I'm like, well, fuck, should I just hire a bunch of bots to comment on me or something?
Well, apparently that's the way to do it. Paying your dues works, but it takes so much longer that you can go straight to the top just by paying bots to comment.
Just get the bots, I guess, man.
Yeah, you got to know what time to post things so that other people will see your interactions with yourself.
One thing I was curious about, though, I'm thinking of doing this as a social experiment. I don't know what your Instagram looks like. If I open it up, it's usually a bunch of scantily clad women and teeth. And I don't know if it's just because what's that?
In your search
when you go to the search bar, and it's probably something like, what's this? And it's usually some chick with a fish or something. Well, I get more and more of it. But there's a page called Thick Officers. So you see some lady in an army uniform and then her in a bikini. And so I'm like, okay, I don't think anyone gives a shit about me running across a desert. So I'm like, what if I made something called Thick Athlete? And so you see me in my spandex or something. Get other guys with fishnet stockings or something. And I'm just curious if that will take off. So is it either get bots or sex sells? Maybe be hot? I don't know.
I think we should get a bunch of different spandex things and start running around and maybe hold some trout.
Let's do it. Hey, you're right off a kick-ass trail or Gene Coulon Park. Let's just go down there. We'll have a photo shoot.
That's actually where I was. Did you know I was Mr. March in a calendar? Right.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, actually, you were looking pretty hot.
Gene Coulon Park is where we did the photo shoot.
Oh, I didn't know it was there. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
I'm pretty sure though. Here's how you can tell for me it won't be bots. I'll probably put a picture of me with some tight spandex, and someone will hey, please stop. My eyes hurt.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least they clicked it.
That's right.
And commented.
Right. I got your clickbait right here.
Right.
Well, I think that's just about going to do it. We've wasted enough time with people.
I'm good at that.
I think they're sick of us at this point. So I think I'm supposed to say something along the lines of, hey, guys, rate and review. You know any fake influencers out there? Tell them about the show. Maybe they'll maybe not.
Lance, do you remember Rick Meyer's number?
Number 3.
Was he?
He was.
Oh, I thought he was 5. Shit. Never mind. Give us... Wait, don't give us 3. Working interference of 5
Wait, hold on. Now I got... Rick Meyer. I was pretty sure he was 3.
Is it because Joe Montana was 3?
Probably, but here he is, number 3 with the Seahawks uniform.
What about Rick Tootin?
Throwing
the old punter.
Yeah, I don't know. He was buff. He had nothing better to do but work out. Tootin, football player, 14.
Never
10.
mind. Rate us 14.
Yeah, give me 14 stars. Find us on all the social bullshits. Let's see. I'm on Instagram as Dr. Timmerman DMD. You're on Instagram with your spandex. What's your handle?
Yeah, well, hey, you can find me. Well, first off, you can find my website at fuckyeahteeth.com. That'll take you. I need to update my portfolio. Speaking of needing better cases to actually show. But otherwise, you can find me at Clinton Timmerman or My Midnight Club on Instagram.
All right. Oh, shit.
My OnlyPage isn't live yet.
Did you know Rick Tootin's dead?
No. From what?
He died
Alvin Smith choked him out last weekend?
June 2017 in Costa Rica.
Oh, geez.
Huh. Yeah, maybe
That
we
sucks.
won't talk about Rick Tootin. Age 52.
Hey, rest in peace, man. That's too soon.
Pour one out for Rick.
Yeah.
So, tradition is we finish the show with a song. It's your turn since you're the guest. What you got?
Well, hey, I hope this isn't too close to when you had a 311 song come out. But
It's been a while.
every year, 420 Day. Tomorrow's 420 Day. And 311 would go out to Colorado and usually play a set of shows. Usually one night they might go to, say, Red Rocks, and the next night go to a club. But they'd always celebrate marijuana on 420 Day. Well, not happening this year. But I thought just in honor of 420 Day and 311, we would go with a 311 song. This one is not one that's anything that usually gets much airplay. In fact, hardly anything from this album gets airplay. But the album Transistor came out when I was on my Mormon mission, 1997.
Okay.
And I was able to find a music shop and kind of sneak a purchase of this one time. And every now and then I would, late at night, try to go to sleep, put this in. So it just kind of brings me back memories to, the Czech Republic and I guess my mission for that matter. But the song Tune In by 311 on the album Transistor in honor of 420 Day. Maybe
all right.
Light one up.
Light one up. Pour one out for Rick Tootin. And sweet. So for Clint Timmerman, I am Lance Timmerman. What is it? Peace.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Transmitting like a radio wave, frequently feeling what's going on. Time's all with all this static, things erratic. Seems like we lost the magic. See here how clear is inequality, a yin and yang type of thing. Sacred geometry, ascending mad energy, crazy bad. It's something else I fucking wish they had. Tune in for those who are wanting. Vision, feel it from within. Sing along, tune in for those who are wanting. Vision, feel it from within. You know. Generator, moving through time and space, and you're a liberator. But your memory has been erased, not rigid, new misplaced. Check it out, Babylon, a lifestyle was scorned. Now we live again in LA, Tokyo, New York.